One of the very, very important things that we are going to learn with trig that will help us with lots of stuff as we move down the road is what a reference angle is and how they can be helpful. So a reference angle is the acute angle formed by the terminal side of an angle and the x-axis. What you have to understand is that this is always going to be positive, and you're basically dropping a straight down line, and you're going to create a right triangle with the x-axis as the base. So in the first quadrant, if we have an angle, you're dropping down, so you're making this right triangle with the x-axis, and so that the angle is just the angle that we have in the first quadrant. However, when we move to the second quadrant, so let's say we have an angle over here, and this angle is 2 pi over 3, let's say. Its reference angle is the angle that is formed that drops and makes a right triangle with the x-axis. And so our reference angle is actually going to be the angle that we have in there. And what you have to understand is in the second quadrant, the reference angle is the supplement of our first angle. So it's basically either 180 minus your angle that you have initially to draw, or pi minus the angle, depending on if you're in radians or degrees. Okay. Let's clear this out and move into the third quadrant. So if I am now having an angle into the third quadrant, the reference angle is going to be the angle that creates the right triangle with the x-axis. And if you recall, this that I'm drawing right here is 180 degrees. The x-axis around for quadrants 1 and 2 is 180, or pi. So we now have an additional amount that gets us into the third quadrant. So to figure out that value, it would be your angle minus 180, or your angle minus pi, to find the reference angle. And in our fourth quadrant, our angle is going to come all the way around here. And our reference triangle is being created as we drop towards the x-axis. So since our full circle is 2 pi or 360 degrees, we're not quite there. Our angle takes us almost there, but we're missing that little piece that fills up that full circle. So to find this value, it would be 360 minus your angle, or 2 pi minus the angle, and that's going to be your reference angle. What you have to understand about reference angles is if you have them all drawn in, they kind of create what looks like a bow tie. And if you are speaking about the reference angle in each quadrant for the same angle, so let's say this has a reference angle of pi over 6 for all values in, for all reference triangles. Let's say they were all pi over 6. Their signs are not going to be the same. Some will be positive, some will be negative, which will be discussed later. But they will all have the same numerical value. So the cosine of pi over 6 would be the same as the cosine of 5 pi over 6. 5 pi over 6 we get from coming over here. That leaves us with a reference triangle of pi over 6. Their signs are not going to be the same, but the magnitude of that cosine or sine or tangent, those are all going to be the same value.